When the RMS Titanic embarked on its maiden voyage in April 1912, it was hailed as a marvel of modern engineering, a floating palace that was unsinkable. Within days, these claims would be submerged in the icy waters of the North Atlantic, alongside the wreckage of the ship itself. The Titanic's story is not just a narrative of a maritime disaster, it is a poignant reflection on human ambition, technological hubris, and the stark realities of nature. The Titanic was conceived in an age of fierce competition among shipping lines. The White Star Line, eager to dominate the transatlantic travel industry, envisioned a ship that was unparalleled in luxury and invincible in its engineering. It was to be a floating testament to the peak of human ingenuity at the time. This period, marked by the Industrial Revolution's tail end, saw human prowess in technology reaching heights that seemed to defy the natural order. The Titanic was not just a ship, it was an embodiment of the era's ethos, man's triumph over nature. Thus, the Titanic was born out of a cocktail of ambition and competition, designed not just to cross oceans, but to conquer them. A palace that was as grand in its aspirations as it was in its size. The process of designing the Titanic was rooted in a blend of art and engineering. The ship's architects, working under the banner of the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, pushed the boundaries of contemporary maritime architecture. The Titanic boasted features that were revolutionary at the time, including watertight compartments and an advanced system for electrical communication. Its hull was deemed virtually impregnable, constructed with the finest quality steel. Despite these advancements, the Titanic was as much a work of art as a feat of engineering. Its grand staircase and luxurious cabins were crafted to offer the pinnacle of comfort and elegance, setting a new standard for ocean liners. Life aboard the Titanic was a stark reflection of Edwardian society. The ship was divided distinctly by class, with lavish amenities provided for first-class passengers, including gourmet meals, opulent cabins, and various entertainment options. In contrast, third-class accommodations were markedly Spartan, but nevertheless exceeded the standards of other ships of the time. The Titanic provided an opportunity for many poorer passengers to travel with a level of dignity not typically afforded to them. This microcosm of society floated across the Atlantic, encapsulating the disparities of the time within its steel walls, offering a semblance of the life many aspired to lead. The Titanic set sail from Southampton, England on April 10, 1912, destined for New York City. The ship's path was to take it across the North Atlantic, a route frequented by icebergs in the early spring months. As the Titanic approached the Newfoundland coast, the temperature dropped, signaling the presence of ice. Despite numerous iceberg warnings relayed to the bridge, the ship continued at near full speed, a decision driven by the era's faith in technology and the pressures of maintaining a schedule. This overconfidence culminated on the night of April 14th, when lookout Frederick Fleet spotted an iceberg directly in the ship's path. His warning, "Iceberg right ahead," would mark the beginning of one of history's most tragic naval disasters. The impact with the iceberg was less a collision and more a grazing along the starboard side. However, this was enough to buckle the steel plates and pop the rivets, allowing frigid sea water to flood the compartments. Initial reactions among the crew were mixed. Some underestimated the damage, while others immediately understood the gravity of the situation. Passengers, on the other hand, were mostly oblivious to the extent of the danger they were in. Technology aboard the Titanic, including its touted watertight compartments, failed to contain the disaster. The damage inflicted by the iceberg was too extensive, and the unsinkable ship was doomed. As the reality of the sinking set in, chaos ensued. Orders were given to load lifeboats, but with lifeboat capacity insufficient for all aboard, panic spread. Women and children were prioritized, but even this policy was inconsistently applied. Amidst the turmoil, stories of heroism emerged. The Titanic's band famously played on as the ship sank, aiming to calm passengers, acts of sacrifice by individuals like Ida and Isidor Strauss, who chose to remain together, highlighted profound human moments against a backdrop of tragedy. The scramble for survival was fraught with emotion, desperation, and a haunting realization of the sheer scale of the impending loss. The final throes of the Titanic were catastrophic. The ship, structurally compromised by the iceberg, eventually broke in two. This dramatic breaking was witnessed by those in lifeboats and those still aboard, creating a lasting image of despair. As the stern settled back and then finally sank, the ocean reclaimed the Titanic in the early hours of April 15, 1912. The sea, which had been a stage for human triumph, became a cold tomb. In the aftermath, as the survivors sat in lifeboats, waiting for rescue, the silence was a stark contrast to the earlier chaos. The night was punctuated only by the cries of those still in the water, a haunting reminder of the disaster. The Carpathia, responding to the Titanic's distress calls, arrived approximately 4 hours after the sinking. The rescue operation was a grim affair, with crew and passengers of the Carpathia witnessing firsthand the aftermath of the tragedy. Survivors were brought aboard, many in shock and suffering from hypothermia. The disparity in the survival rates between the classes was immediately apparent, highlighting the social inequalities that had contributed to the disaster. As news of the sinking reached the rest of the world, there was a collective outpouring of grief and disbelief. The unsinkable ship had not only sunk, but had also taken with it a sense of invulnerability that had characterized the early 20th century. In the wake of the disaster, multiple inquiries were launched to determine the causes of the Titanic's sinking. These investigations revealed a series of failures, from inadequate safety measures to human error. The inquiries led to significant changes in maritime laws, including stricter regulations on lifeboat numbers and safety practices. The Titanic disaster became a case study in the need for rigorous safety standards and the dangers of technological arrogance. These revelations were painful but necessary, serving as a catalyst for reform that would make sea travel significantly safer for future generations. The Titanic's story has been retold through numerous books, films, and documentaries, each aiming to capture the different facets of the tragedy. James Cameron's 1997 film Titanic brought the story to a new generation, blending historical detail with a poignant love story. The fascination with the Titanic's story lies not just in the scale of the tragedy, but also in the human stories intertwined with the disaster. It serves as a powerful narrative of human error, bravery, and the indomitable spirit of those who faced unimaginable circumstances. The discovery of the Titanic's wreck in 1985 by a team led by Robert Ballard was a milestone in deep-sea exploration. The ship, split in two and splayed across the ocean floor, was a sobering sight, preserved in the cold, dark depths. This discovery utilized advanced technology, including submersibles and remotely operated vehicles, marking significant progress in underwater exploration. The state of the wreck today, slowly being consumed by the sea, serves as a poignant reminder of the past. The Titanic disaster fundamentally changed maritime safety. The International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, known as SOLAS, was established in 1914, leading to better safety practices and the introduction of mandatory lifeboat drills. The disaster also prompted a re-evaluation of ship designs, including the hull structure and the materials used. These changes have ensured that such a disaster has not repeated itself at the same scale, underscoring the importance of learning from past mistakes. The Titanic remains one of the most powerful symbols of human endeavor and its limits. It serves as a reminder of our vulnerabilities and the consequences of overestimating human technology over nature. Its legacy is reflected in continued interest and study, ensuring that the lessons learned from the tragedy continue to influence not only maritime practices, but also general engineering and safety standards. The story of the Titanic, from its conception to its tragic demise, is a narrative rich with lessons, emotions, and historical significance. It teaches us about the bounds of human ambition and the need for respect for nature and technological limits. As we remember the Titanic, it is not just as a disaster, but as a catalyst for change and a symbol of human resilience. Its story continues to echo, reminding us of the delicate balance between our dreams and our reach.